Let me take you back to a summer that looked a lot like this one. The hurricane season was dead, week after week of nothing. The experts had already called it a below-average year, a quiet year, nothing to worry about. People along the coast relaxed. The ones who'd bought supplies in June started using them up in July. By the middle of August, the Atlantic still hadn't produced a single named storm worth remembering. And then one formed. Just one. It started as a disorganized cluster of clouds that wind shear nearly tore apart. For days it struggled, and then it found warm water and calm air, and in barely 30 hours it exploded into a Category 5 monster, one of the most violent hurricanes ever to strike the United States. It flattened entire neighborhoods in South Florida. It destroyed tens of thousands of homes. And it happened in a season everyone had already written off as quiet. That storm was Hurricane Andrew. The year was 1992. And it is the single most important thing to understand about the August we are walking into right now. That's what we're breaking down today. Not just a storm, but a lesson written in the history of exactly this kind of season, and why the quiet Atlantic outside your window in 2026 might be the most dangerous kind of quiet there is. I'm going to show you the parallel, the science behind why below-average seasons still produce catastrophes, and what forecasters are watching right now as we cross into the danger zone. No hype, just history, science, and a warning worth hearing. But first, quick favor. It genuinely helps this channel. Drop a comment right now and tell me, where are you watching from? And do you remember a specific hurricane that shaped how you think about storms? Andrew, Katrina, Sandy, Ian, Harvey, the one that made it real for you. I read every one of these, and the stories people share are powerful. And if you want to actually be ready instead of caught off guard, hit subscribe. It's free, it takes a second, and it means you're never the last to know. A thumbs up helps this reach more people who need it. All right, let's get into it. So let's start with the parallel, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. 1992 was an El Nino-influenced season, and just like this year, that El Nino cranked up the wind shear across the Atlantic and held storm. Formation down. It ended up being one of the least active seasons on record. Only a handful of named storms the entire year. If you'd looked at the numbers in early August of 1992, you'd have shrugged. Nothing was happening. The season was a dud. And then came Andrew. It was the first named storm of that entire year, and it didn't even show up until the middle of August. It started as a tropical wave that rolled off the coast of Africa, and for days it was barely hanging on. Wind shear was ripping at it, and at one point forecasters genuinely thought it might fall apart entirely. But then the atmosphere around it relaxed. It moved over deep warm water, and it went through explosive rapid intensification. In about 30 hours, it went from a Category 1 to a Category 5. On August 24th, it slammed into South Florida just south of Miami with sustained winds around 165 miles per hour and a pressure reading that put it among the most intense hurricanes ever to hit the country. It destroyed roughly 25,000 homes and damaged over 100,000 more. It caused, in today's dollars, tens of billions in damage. It was the costliest hurricane in American history at the time, and it did all of that as the one and only major hurricane in a season everybody had already dismissed as quiet. Now sit with what that actually means, because it's the whole point. The total number of storms in a season, the thing the forecasts predict, the thing that makes headlines in the spring, tells you almost nothing about your personal risk. Andrew didn't care that 1992 was a below-average year. The people of Homestead, Florida, didn't get to feel safer because the seasonal storm count was low. It only takes one. One storm in the right place at the right time is all it takes to turn a quiet season into one of the worst disasters in a region's history. Every hurricane forecaster on Earth repeats this like a mantra, and it's not a cliche. It's the hard-won lesson of storms exactly like Andrew. And here's why I'm telling you this now, in 2026, at the end of July. Because the setup this year rhymes with 1992 in ways that should get your attention. This is a strong El Nino year. The Atlantic has been suppressed all summer by wind shear and dry Saharan air, exactly like back then. The official forecasts call for a below-normal season. NOAA is expecting a modest number of storms, only a few hurricanes, and just 1 to 3 major ones all year. So far, the season has produced a couple of weak, forgettable storms and no hurricanes at all. On paper, it's shaping up quiet. And that is precisely the profile of a season that lulls people to sleep right before it bites. Because just like in 1992, the quiet doesn't mean the threat is gone. It means the threat is concentrated. When the whole basin is hostile except for one small pocket, all it takes is for that one pocket to come alive at the wrong moment. And right now, forecasters are watching exactly that. The hurricane team at AccuWeather has flagged a window in the first half of August, roughly the 5th. Warm water, a spinning boundary, and the lid lifting in one spot right as we enter the most dangerous stretch of the year. That is the recipe for a homegrown storm forming close to the coast. And storms that form close to the coast are the ones that give you the least time to react. Let me be straight with you, though, because I refuse to fearmonger. What's being watched right now is a zone of interest, not a named hurricane and not a guaranteed strike. The forecasters are calling it an area to monitor, and that's the honest label. I'm not telling you a Category 5 is bearing down on Miami next week. Nobody can say that, and anyone who does is selling you panic. What I am telling you is that the conditions that produced Andrew, a suppressed El Niño season, a coast full of people who've let their guard down, and one pocket of the ocean turning favorable in August, are the conditions taking shape right now. The lesson of 1992 isn't be terrified. It's don't confuse a quiet season with a safe one. Those are very different things, and the gap between them is where people get hurt. And there's one more piece of the 1992 lesson that applies directly to you today. Andrew intensified so fast, Category 1 to Category 5 in about 30 hours, that it caught people who were watching it off guard. Rapid intensification is the thing forecasters fear most because it collapses your preparation window. A storm you thought you had days to get ready for can become a nightmare overnight. And the warm, always warm deep ocean water off the U.S. coast in August is exactly the kind of fuel that makes rapid intensification possible. So if something does spin up in that watch zone, the smart assumption is not, I'll wait and see how strong it gets. The smart assumption is that it could strengthen faster than anyone expects, and that your window to act might be shorter than you'd like. So what do you do with all of this? You do the thing the people of 1992 wished they'd done sooner. You prepare while it's still quiet. Right now, before there's a name on the map, is the easiest and cheapest time you will ever have to get ready. And it's the time almost nobody uses, because the sky is blue and the season looks dead. Beat that instinct. Have your water. About a gallon per person per day for 3 to 5 days, pets included. Have non-perishable food and a manual can opener. Have flashlights, batteries, and charged power banks, because the power goes first. Know your evacuation zone now. Look it up today, not when the cone points at you. Have a family communication plan for when the networks fail. Fill your gas tank early. Keep your documents somewhere you can grab in 60 seconds. And this is an afternoon of work. For the people who did it before Andrew, it was the difference between hardship and catastrophe. And keep your eyes on the forecast over these next 2 weeks specifically. Both NOAA and the Colorado State Hurricane Team are releasing their updated seasonal outlooks right at the start of August, and those updates will tell us a lot about whether the back half of this season stays suppressed or wakes up. But more than any seasonal number, watch the daily updates from the National Hurricane Center as that early to mid-August window arrives. If the atmosphere in that eastern Gulf and southwestern Atlantic zone does what forecasters think it might, that's where the season's next chapter, and possibly its first real hurricane program, would begin. Here's the honest bottom line. History doesn't repeat exactly, but it rhymes, and the rhyme this year is loud. A quiet, El Niño suppressed season lulled an entire coastline into complacency once before and then produced Andrew. A single August storm that struck harder than anyone was ready for and rewrote the record books. 2026 is not 1992, and I'm not predicting another Andrew. But I am telling you that the shape of this season is the exact shape that has fooled people before, that the ingredients are gathering in a specific place at the most dangerous time of year, and that the quiet outside your window is not a promise of safety. It's an opportunity to prepare, and a warning not to waste it. I'm going to be tracking every bit of this as August unfolds, every shift in that watch zone, every update from the Hurricane Center, every sign of something trying to form. If you want to stay ahead of it instead of behind it, subscribe so you don't miss a single update, because with a setup like this, being early is everything. Hit the like button to help this reach more people along the coast. And drop that comment. Where are you watching from? And which storm made hurricane season real for you? Tell me. I read them all, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't let the quiet fool you. Stay ready.